Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Dill, the Oregon Ducks commitment sweatshirt on for the third time in the last 48 hours as Dan Lanning, the Oregon Ducks, not done yet in the transfer portal, landing the commitment from former Alabama safety Peyton Woodyard coming back to the West Coast. Dill, this is a guy we talked a ton about in that 2024 high school recruiting class, committed to Georgia, flipped to Alabama after spring practice, heading back to the West Coast. Couple things stand out. One, Dan Lanning doing a phenomenal job cleaning up the state of California. You take a look at the guys from modern day St. John Bosco, right? Dakota Fields, Aiden Breland, Nasir Wyatt just committed to Oregon. They are doing a phenomenal job recruiting that state. But more importantly, one of the things that stands out to me is we've talked extensively about Oregon bringing in an elite defensive line class in that 2024 cycle. Guys like Aiden Breland, Elijah Rushing, Jericho Johnson. You take a look at that secondary room in general, right? Dakota Fields and Ifio at the cornerback spots, Aaron Flowers, who looked phenomenal during the spring game. Now you bring in Peyton Woodyard. Not only is that front seven looking very good for the Oregon Ducks, that back end in the secondary is going to be very good for the Ducks over the next couple of years. Want to do two different things. One, talk about what Peyton Woodyard brings to this Oregon Ducks program. Dive into the film from St. John Bosco, because this is a guy that, I absolutely love his film from the high school ranks. Talk about what he brings to this Oregon program. Before we get into it, as always, just want to say thank you to you guys, the Oregon Duck fans. Whether we're talking the transfer portal, doing our roster battles, talking the recruiting trail, you guys have continued to show a ton of love, a ton of support to the fellas. Can't thank you guys enough. I got some questions about, you thought I was a Michigan fan wearing the Oregon sweatshirt. This is why, man. It's hard not to rock with the Oregon Ducks with all the support you guys show. Appreciate y'all rocking with it. And Dill, I'm going to give you the T-box here. Peyton Woodyard, I know you've watched his film from the high school ranks. I know you watched him in the spring game for Alabama. What's he bring to this Oregon Ducks defense?
I think what stands out, and especially from that Alabama spring game, is just being able to play multiple positions where you saw him spin back and play that free safety role, playing as a too-high safety, playing a little bit of nickel, and even some as that third linebacker in the box. And again, you just kind of look, when you want to be a good safety right now and fit the modern college football defenses, you need to be able to do multiple things. You need to be able to cover tight ends, which he showed he was able to do. You need to be able to make tackles in the box and take blocks on. Again, he just kind of showed that diverse set of skills that, frankly, I think it's kind of the table stakes for what safeties need to be.
That is becoming a massive priority for these back-end defenders, right? You have to do so many different things. And you mentioned the modern day of college football. What are modern college football offenses trying to do? They're trying to get as much speed on the field, spread you out, make you kind of cover every blade of grass on the field. When you have a guy like Peyton Woodyard, who you can bring onto the field, and he can be that athletic, rangy back-end defender, but he is also a guy that doesn't allow defenses to give up much in run support at 6'2", 190 pounds. He's versatile. He can operate in coverage. He's very good inside the box, making tackles and being tough, getting off blocks. This is exactly what you're looking for in a back-end defender. Dan Lanning.
He's got that length you kind of want to complement with what you have with Aaron Flowers, where he's a little bit, he really looked good at that free safety spot. But again, we kind of look, when you want to cover tight ends and have that guy who can deal with that position, which a lot of teams will have it, which the opposing teams don't have answers for.
And especially in the big time with the tight ends.
100%. And you need guys with length, you need that. So I think he complements Flowers really well in terms of being able, when you got to put him on a big tight end who's going to be a game wrecker for you, I think he can take on that role. But again, he can also play the other parts. So I think he complements what Flowers does, and you really got to like that class you're bringing in 24.
Oh, I love this. I've been very vocal. I think the 2024 recruiting class for the Oregon Ducks, and again, Peyton Woodyard, essentially a transfer portal addition, but I'm kind of just slotting him in that 2024 cycle. I absolutely love what they brought in. I want to get into a little bit of the film. One of the things that stands out, we talked about the versatility. I also want to talk about the instincts. This is a 3-year starter at St. John Bosco. And when you turn on the film, you can tell his kid has played a ton of football at a very high level and does so many different things. You kind of start rolling the film. One, you see that big time frame, right? Playing that single high safety, reading the quarterback's eyes. When that football's in the air, he uses that big body, that big frame, going up, making plays. He can be that back end defender that can kind of ball hawk some balls and kind of create some of those turnovers. But you continue to get through the film and say, he's also a guy that can be in run support, fire downhill, and make tackles beyond the line of scrimmage as well. He is somebody that is very willing to get downhill, hawk down ball carriers, and make plays. You continue to roll through the film, so many different ways that you can utilize Peyton Woodyard, again, kind of playing that too high safety look. When that football's in the air, again, at 6'2", 190 pounds, he's got some nice range, some nice physicality in the back end. They love using him in a ton of different ways, right? Here, a little bit more man coverage. You throw that jump ball, again, big physical defender that can make plays on the football. You continue to roll through it. Again, so many different ways, so many different alignments too, right? You see him acting in the box a little bit as that third linebacker that you talked about, being physical, running the alley. There's so much to like about Peyton Woodyard, and you start looking at, I guess I'll ask you this question. You look at this Oregon Ducks safety room. It's hard to say Peyton Woodyard and Aaron Flowers aren't going to be guys that are going to get used by Oregon as true freshmen heading into 2024.
No, 100%, because we've kind of talked about it. Like, that cornerback room, I think it's pretty locked up. You are loaded top to bottom with corners. You got good vets, you got good young guys. But that safety room, and I like Tashim Johnson, but I'm not sure he's that premier deep center field safety. And frankly, Kobe Savage is another guy who I think really shined in the box at Kansas State. Wasn't necessarily a great rangy deep safety. I think that deep safety, I think, again, you kind of look at him and Flowers, depending on the matchup. I think both of them can be used even as early as this year, just because I think there is a void in that middle of the field.
And they're both prospects that are super polished up, right? You see a lot of different kind of high school guys. Peyton Woodyard's one of those guys, again, going back to his high school career. I mean, 3-year starter at St. John Bosco, playing some of the best high school programs every single Friday night. He's one of those guys that you feel kind of good about playing him early as a true freshman. I think the last thing I want to note that excites me, especially in the Big Ten, where you're going to see so many different kind of offenses. Like one week, you're going to be in Kinnick Stadium playing the Iowa Hawkeyes, who got 2 tight ends and a fullback. You got to have guys that can be physical in the tackle box. Then next week, you might be going out to Husky Stadium playing a little bit more of a spread offense. And you have to have personnel that can make it happen against those kind of teams too. The Big Ten is so, I guess, versatile in terms of the offensive attacks you're going to see.
Especially with the Pac-12 teams coming in. I mean, the Big Ten was always kind of that like old school run it in your face kind of program. And then you bring in USC, Oregon, Washington, all much more the air raid flavor. So I think you're right. I mean, the Big Ten, especially now, you need to be able to play defense against 3 or 4 different styles of offense. And you want guys like Peyton Woodyard. I mean, frankly, you want depth in different kind of guys where Woodyard's not necessarily the same guy as what you have with Flowers. And I think that building that kind of stable of guys who can all play and play different roles is going to be very important. As
you talk about stable, like Aaron Flowers and Peyton Woodyard. And I again, not sure how much they'll play as true freshmen because it is a very good team heading into 2024. I think they will play. But you look at, we kind of talked about this. Yes, Dan Lanning's trying to win a national championship in 2024. I think this team is certainly capable of doing that. You make no mistake about it. This isn't a one-year wonder like some other programs that we see. Dan Lanning's building this program to compete in, year out for national championships. Guys like Peyton Woodyard, Aaron Flowers going to allow you to do that. Great young talent in the safety room. We'll close it out on that. Again, one of my favorite players from that 2024 cycle. Oregon Duck fans, appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We'll talk to y'all later.